This is in the middle of the night, and for some reason it thinks. There we are. I'm live now. Yay me! Have to view this on my tablet so I can actually see anything. There we go. So I have talked about on other live streams and in various topics, right? About the Mortician's rig. I've talked about the double hook rig. I've talked about the Pompano rig. I've talked about the this rig, the that rig, and the other rig, right? So here's what I want to do is I want to give everybody a quick rundown on what these rigs are. So this is the Pompano rig. Ignore the fact it's on high vis, that's so it hopefully shows up better on camera. And see if that helps any. Okay, so we start off with a swivel at the top. We have a T-knot, we have another T-knot, and then down at the bottom we have a clip or whatever to attach to your swivel. Okay. So this is, like I said, in saltwater, it's the Pompano rig. It would normally be dyed with about 20-pound mono or fluorocarbon, because everybody loves fluorocarbon down there, but whatever floats your boat. And then when you're looking at the Kentucky rig, double hook rig, whatever for catfishing, then you're going to be using 40, 60, 80, whatever pound mono. So this rig has drawbacks. Let me find my little hooks here. I'm not even sure what brand of hooks these are. They're sitting in a little plastic bag. So the problem with this rig is there's a few different problems. The first thing is if you want to attach any hook, you take this loop, right? And actually, I'm sorry, that's not the T-knot. Let me get the T-knot rig. There it is. Got to get all my rigs straightened out here. I wanted to give examples. Yeah, this looks exactly like the one I just showed you, except it's the knot. It's the T-knot here. And the way you get that is you fold it over like so, you hold both ends, and you twist the center section 6 times. Seems to be what everybody does. And then you run back of the loop through the middle of that and pull it together, and that's how you get your T-knot. So let me take that out of there because we don't want that in this particular rig. Okay, so we've got our T-knots. At the top of the rig, we start with our swivel. That's going to go to our main line off of our reel. 2 loops. And then, again, a snap or whatever down at the bottom for your sinker. So to attach this, you take the loop, you kind of pinch it, and you run it through the front of your circle hook. Okay, so you've got the loop, and then the very basic is that you just put the hook through the loop, and you end up with a cow hitch knot. Okay. So the problem with the cow hitch knot is, one, it does exactly what this one has. Let's see if that helps any. Not really. And that is that it's going to come down here, down to this part of the hook. And that's going to be pulling this up against where the wire of the hook bends around to make the eye. That's a very sharp spot. So you don't want to do that. The other thing is you don't have really the trigger action of the circle hook, and you're not really pulling from the shank, you're pulling from the eye. Now, another methodology of this is you do the same thing, but you go around and you put one side through, and then you twist, and then you put the other side around the hook, then you twist it again, and then you put the other side around the hook, and then you twist it again. And basically, it gives you a few more twists up here, but you still have the same problem, and that is that you are pulling your line up against where the eye bends back around. So that's going to give you strength problems. Okay, so this is 40-pound mono. So I've got my little rig puller set up here. And the important part here is so you've got a fish on the hook and pulling against your main line. That's really all that matters as far as the strength that we're going to test here, the part that we're going to test. So let me get all this shindig chiseled around here. I may run out of line, but that's okay. We've done that before. Set the rig puller. Hey, Farron, how you doing? Oops, that's not what I'm wanting to twist. This is what I want to twist. So this is my rig test puller, whatever you want to call it. So on one end, I've got a linear actuator, and on the other end, I've got this little guy here that tells me how much strength we've had to use. So I've got this set up, and we're going to do a pull. We're pulling the swivel and the hook. And again, this is 40-pound mono. So what has happened is this knot has started to slip. So we've gotten to about 15.4 pounds of strength. And this will show you a really good, if it shows up right, you can see that basically this knot is going to slip, which is what it's done thus far. So the knot's going to slip. It's also, this T-knot is not very strong. Let me see if I can tighten this back up. Well, there you go. Kind of shows you it's not very strong. It's about maybe 60% of the line strength, not the rated strength of 40 pounds, but the breaking strength of about 46, 48. It gets about 20 to 25 maybe. So send that over. Go ahead and snip the parts off of it, and we'll send it to the graveyard. So that is the T-knot rig. That is what is the standard pompano rig, and also the Kentucky rig / double hook rig / whatever. This is what a lot of people use. Okay. I'll pull back up here. You can see my pretty face again. Now, the first improvement I did to that was what I accidentally showed you earlier. And this is, instead of using the T-knot, I am using a double surgeon's loop. So that does, you make a loop, and then you just basically like an overhand knot, and you run this doubled over loop through there twice, and then pull it tight. I've already created this so everybody can see it. Again, swivel at the top of the rig. You got your two loops. At the bottom, you put your sinker on again. So what this does for you is it gives you a stronger knot, not going to slip like the T-knot did. The downside is that you're still doing the same thing with your circle hook. You're doubling the line over, you're pushing it through, and you're creating that cow hitch knot. Okay. So if we set this up on the puller, and I will probably not have enough length on this with the puller, but we'll give it a shot. And put this down, take a look. Figure everybody likes to see the carnage when it occurs. So we got to 29 pounds. Okay, not horrible. Not with 40-pound mono. Let me try to interject. I'm just going to shorten the line by putting a rig puller in the middle, a manual rig puller, because we do want to see what this breaks at. Okay, so give her another pull. $38.7 pounds. Not bad. Again, a big improvement over like the 25-ish maybe that we would get out of the T-knots. So, see, where did we break here? We broke the swivel off. That's what happened on this one. So this one, it gives you pretty good strength. Actually, really good strength. The problem that you have is, again, how it pulls here. You run a really good risk of this cutting the line because you've got the sharp edge there. And you also have 2 leaders coming to your circle hook. So there's another method that I've done on that where you just create a much smaller loop here and then take something like this where you have snelled the hook and come up to a triple surgeon's loop. And then you just kind of mix these together, tie them, attach them together. That didn't work. That's the wrong way. And that gets away from the problem of having 2 lines coming off, and it also allows you to snell the hook properly. The downside to that is that you still run the risk of breaking this line at a lower rate than what you would like. Plus, you've got a little, like I say, the knot would basically be here. You get, I don't know, all this electric bulk here kind of thing, right? So, take this little snoot off. Another plus to this method, though, is you can change your hook, right? You can change this piece out anytime you want. So, not a bad rig, just not as good as it could be, but again, considerably stronger than using a T-knot. And we harvest this clip off the bottom. Put that in the boneyard of all my pieces and accoutrements. And again, 40-pound mono, we got to 38.7. And that's, like I said, pretty good. So that brings us to the Mortician's rig. This was created kind of as an answer to the first rig with the T-knots. This is more of a saltwater rig. Doesn't matter where it was born, it's what it is. So you have 2 overhand knots. Scoot down again, you get 2 more overhand knots, and then your sinker clip at the bottom. Okay? And what we do with that is exactly what we just did. We wrap this smaller leader, run through that surgeon's loop there, and there we go. Pull it tight. So you end up with this. And then you do the same down here, so you'd have 2 hooks. And the problem that this provides, and it's not nearly as bad with smaller line, and let me kind of cinch this down a little better. So you still have the ability to change this leader out. So this, I'll call it the snood. That's a European thingamajiggy. So you'd have 2 hooks on it like this, and you can change it out. But the problem is, especially if you get into thicker mono, these overhand knots, one, it creates a weak spot in the line. Every knot does. but these will also slide. So if you put enough pressure, it'll slide. So this part of the rig, this loop, is not actually going to slide over it. It's just going to push the knot, that single overhand knot, down some. And again, it happens with heavier line, may not even happen with this 40-pound mono. But let's go ahead and slap it on here. Oh, let me get the hook on this side. And get this into place. And zero it out. And again, we're pulling hook against the swivel that leads to the main line. And somehow I had to switch to a really weird, okay, 4.7 pounds, there we go. Yeah, so we got 5.8. So again, I'm going to need to slap one of these manual rig pullers in the middle, just so I can kind of shorten things up a little bit. Okay. And okay, so this actually, I'm sorry, we've already proven what I needed to prove. So you can see when we started off, these knots were close together. There's the first knot, there's the second one. And you can see how it's all crinkled up. The knot was pushed. So instead of being right here with the other overhand knot, it's been pushed way up here. So the rig, or actually this one came down. So that's what happened there. So that's, again, the downside of the standard Mortician's rig. I'll go ahead and try to salvage this little snood in one piece. Cut that, slide it off, and then it will be in one piece, whether it wants to be or not. There we go. Okay, again, salvage the hardware off of this because we're done with that. So that kind of demonstrates the 3 different rigs we've had thus far. And the Mortician's rig is liked a lot by the saltwater guys. And one of the reasons is when you put that snood on, you can twist it around and it doesn't, it kind of swivels around itself on the line because it's not tied. Now what I want to try, so I played with 80-pound earlier in a live stream and it did well using a figure 8 knot instead of the standard overhand knot. But the problem is we talked about, you get the single overhand, and then down further you get another single overhand. The top one doesn't really need to be there. Because again, from your main line, you're only pulling one direction, right? It's never really going to go up. Now, when you use this type of snood and you've wrapped it around and kind of, created your own little loop there, that can be loose, and I can see how that, because it's loose, as loose it is, could go up and down the line. So with the standard Mortician's rig, it may actually be needed. But let's grab our 40-pound mono over here. And so what I'm envisioning, and I couldn't sleep, so there's that. Appreciate you guys being in here. There are some people that actually, are like me and will geek out on this stuff, and there are other people that this is the boringest stuff I've ever seen. And I get it if you think it's boring. It's the middle of the night. There aren't a lot of options. And if you're my age, everything went off the air at midnight anyway. Back in the television days. So we just start off with a trilene knot. There we go. To our swivel. And let me just pick a spot. So here what I'm going to do is I'll create a figure 8 knot. The reason it's called figure 8 knot is looky there. That's what it looks like. So that'll be my top one, and then I'll put another one down here at the bottom, because why not? And then this would go down to my sinker. We're not going to waste time doing all that. Now, so instead of using this style snood, let me whip off another piece of this. Grab another circle hook. And this is the no knot snell. If you don't know it, you need to learn it if you use circle hooks, because it's just a really good knot. And if you would like to learn it, I did a video a couple days ago of the first 2 knots you need to learn as a catfish angler. And it was the trilene knot and the no knot snell. This knot is incredibly strong. I'd say 4 to 5 times. The line breaks somewhere way up here, not the knot. Most of your knots, pretty much all your knots are going to break. This one doesn't. So what I was thinking here, it's going to be a little hard to show, but again, I don't think we need the top one, the top knot, so that we can put the line between the two, if we are not using that same loop knot. So what I'm going to try to do here, easier said than done, is treat this, so my leader here, above that figure 8 knot. I'm going to treat it like a swivel eye or a hook eye. So I'm going to go through it. I'm going to come back around, do it again, and I'm going to create a trilene knot here. I've not tested this. This is something I was laying in bed, couldn't sleep, and said, hey, I got to go test this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And yes, my tag end is really long on this, but we'll take care of that. So if we do that, and give it a good tug. And we'll cut off that tag end. So what should happen here is it should move down until it hits that knot. Okay, so far so good. We're going to do the same testing that we've done so far. Going to put and yes, this would be much better as a horizontal live stream, but our friends at YouTube are pushing shorts, vertical live streams so hard. They put this in the short speed so that people can just kind of scroll through like they do on that TikTok thing. And so if you want to pick up new viewers, you pretty much have to do this, as opposed to doing it where you guys could see more. So got the swivel clipped on over here, got the hook clipped on over here, 40-pound mono, and here we go. That was disappointing. It was very disappointing. 15.5 pounds. And what happened is my trilene knot just simply gave up. So let me try that one more time. I knew I didn't tighten it that much, but still. Yeah. Do that. And the reason I'm giving it another shot is because I didn't tighten the knot really well. I thought I could get away with it. But instead it just pulled out. So many euphemisms here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Go back through both loops. No, you didn't. Yeah, you did. This is why I use a longer leader or a longer tag end. Yeah. One more time. And it may be that this is the wrong knot to use, but we'll find out. This mono feels very fluorocarbony. It's very, I don't know, it almost feels oily, but it's good line. I know it is. So I use regularly. 3, 4, and 5. Go back through both of those loops. Okay. And this time I'm actually going to tighten it like a good boy. I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. Okay. So that should be tight. Roll the hook puller back up. Zero this guy back out. Throw that over in the trash bin. Okay, and here we go. $19.1, and what happened? Well, so the figure 8 knot is what broke there. 19.1, that's abysmal. That's not going to help. That's not going to make anybody happy. So that was a failure. Seemed like a good idea. Now I could try, running a uni knot on that line or something else, but yeah, that did not go anywhere near what I wanted. So we'll run that down as a failure. Absolute abysmal failure at that. But what I do want to check, because again, this is 40-pound mono versus the 80-pound I was playing with earlier. It could be that these figure 8 knots are just not good with 40-pound mono, because different knots with different line behave differently. Even though actually it's the same brand of mono. Okay, so we did the 2 figure 8 knots next to each other, just like we would with the regular Mortician's rig if we were using just a single overhand knot. But again, we know those slip, so there's that. Okay, so get another trilene knot tied here. And one thing that I have learned, I've learned so much from having this strength tester, rig puller, whatever you want to call it. One of the big things that I learned is that I do not pull my knots tight enough. I mean, and it's not even close. I always thought I was, giving a really good tug. But when you put them on here and you can watch the knots and you can watch them getting seated so much better, then you realize you're just not pulling it tight enough. Okay, so we're just going to do the top end of this. So we got swivel going down to the 2 figure 8 knots. Now grab one of these already pre-made snoods. just between those two figure-8 knots. There we go. So what I said earlier that I didn't really show you. So see, one of the things people like about this is it can spin around. It doesn't need a swivel, any kind of swivel action there, because it just spins around the main line. And that's all well and good until, of course, you put a whole lot of pressure on there. Then it does cinch down quite tight against this line. So got our 2 figure-8 knots. Oh, you can't see again. Good morning, Outlaw Vault. Welcome in, welcome in. So we have our 2 figure-8 knots. We've got our cow hitch knot being made by the loop, and give her a pull. My figure-8 knot is slipping. Give it a tug, see if it'll cinch it down some more. And 19.4, we broke at that figure-8 knot that slipped. So it finally broke there. So what that tells us is that on 40-pound mono, we're not getting near the strength we need out of the Mortician's rig. Again, at 80-pound mono, we're getting about 60 pounds of strength, but with 40-pound, we're getting under 20. So an abysmal failure. Hey, Rude. Welcome in, my friend. Appreciate you being here. I feel like Shelton Cooper with fun with flags, but I'm doing fun with knots. So with 40-pound mono, we're actually better off using the surgeon loops. And I'll show you the variation that I like on that. Like I say, to get a better to be able to use the Snell knot properly. So just tie on our swivel again using trilene knot. And I'll just do a triple surgeon's loop here. 1, 2, and 3. And you don't need this to be very large at all. So I'll use my little hook on my rig puller there. So we pull both ends tight independently. So again, it would go down to a second one as well. So you get, so up here, one loop, put another loop, then you put the sinker at the bottom. And this is where we would, once again, use one of these style snoods. And I don't want to reuse these because once they've been pulled on as much as they have, you know, you run the risk of weakening that line. So I'll tie that up here real quick. Again, just a standard no knot Snell. Give that a good yank. Then again, I'll use a triple surgeon's loop here as well. 1, 2, 3. And again, this can be really small because all it has to fit through is the hook. One end, and then we'll grab this end and cinch it down good. And give her a snip. Okay. So just as before, we've got small loop, and then the snood. Yeah, I can snip that a little bit, but anyway. So what you want to do is you can take this, put the loop from the snood over the loop that's already on the line, and then put the hook through the loop that is part of the line, not part of the snood. And what that does is it gives you this, kind of looks like a square knot. So pull this back up into place. Reset to 0. And we'll give her a pull. I stick my hand here so that I don't end up with a hook in the eye. 23.5. Where did we break? Once again, we actually lost the swivel. I'm not having good luck with this line and those swivels tonight. Yes, fun with flags. Got us to 23.5 pounds. Not what we're looking for. But this part of the rig is actually quite solid. Tell you what, we'll just pull from the other end instead of slapping the swivel on there, because apparently I'm just not doing well with swivels tonight. Put this through the rig puller and tighten her up like so. Bring things back. Set it to 0. Get a little pressure on there so I can let loose from here. $33.7. And oddly enough, we still broke down here. So that kind of shows you that there's that little square knot that I was talking about where the two double leaders met. So we're not having problems with that. The strength on that's doing great. Again, 40-pound mono, we got 33.7, and still something else broke on the line, not either of those knots. So gonna have to work on my trilene knot skills. But overall, for 40-pound, we want to stay away from the Mortician's rig. We want to stay away from using the figure 8 knots. And the reason being, so the anatomy of a knot is as the tighter that this coil becomes around itself, the weaker it becomes. And that's no different than, if you're driving right next to another car down the road and you come to a sharp curve. So if you curve to the right, your vehicle on the right is going to end up in front of the vehicle on the left, or if you're going left, and because it's a shorter distance, right? So all of the stress is being put on the outside of that bend, but none on the inside. So that's where we were running into the problem with all of those knots on the thinner mono. I know, 40-pound thin, right? Whatever. But that's where we're running into that, adding that weakness back in, or introducing that weakness. And it's also one of the reasons that the no-knot snell is such a strong knot is because it wraps around the hook. So it's never wrapped right around itself only. Let me get this little guy out of the way. And I did not like that sound because that tells me I dropped either a swivel or a hook. Turns out it was a nut. Oh, there you go. So I can't sleep. That's what I'm doing here, in case anybody is wondering why I am here doing this. Trying to get some watch hours, trying to hang out, give people a place to chat, talk about whatever they want to talk about. And yeah, so there you go. So needless to say, I'm disappointed in the outcome, but that's what that pull tester has done for me, is it allows me to reimagine things. Well, let's try this. Well, in my mind, it seems like it would work great. When it comes into real practice, it doesn't. So for anybody who cares what I'm using, it's Sufix Superior 40-pound. I've got the high vis. I normally don't use that for tying rigs, obviously. That's my main line. But I do have some in clear. And then I've got some 80-pound in clear, and I've got a little of this, a little of that. So now it comes down to what I want to tie right now. So I'm thinking about that. I got a pretty good idea. So I've tied up some of the 80-pound Mortician's rigs. I've got 4 of those ready to go. And the reason that that's important to me is typically I'll run 4 rods when I go out fishing from the bank. And that way I've got 1 for each rod. Don't really have any backups, but you get what you get. So, because we just proved with the 40-pound mono, because we're just going to do the clear version, that we need to stick with the double surgeon's loop, then that's what I'm going to do, or triple surgeon's loop. Now, I think another problem that I may have introduced, so normally I was using the 3/0 swivels, and I went to these size 3, or size 3. So the wire on these is a thinner diameter. And that thinner diameter, again, makes the knot tighter. Shouldn't make that much of a difference, but I'm grasping at straws now as to why that trilane knot was not holding right. And I'm disappointed in it, to be honest with you. Let's see here. I don't have an answer. So I'm going to go ahead and tie a trilane knot in this one. Up against the swivel. And give it a pull. Now, one of the things that I didn't do earlier when I was tying these knots is I wasn't paying enough attention because I was not expecting them to break. So I did moisten it. I'm going to slide the knot down with my fingertips. And don't know where. Sorry, I've got to get back into this on my tablet so I can see chat if anybody actually says anything. Hello. We'll call you Mina. You're Turkish. Well, congratulations. We're over here in America, or I'm over here in America. I don't know where everybody else is. And you just up late at night. So, here we go. Wrap it around this rig puller a few times just to try to give myself a little more grip on these. And set that knot down pretty good. Okay. And then, so we're going to come down, create a small triple surgeon's loop. And that's what we're going to hook the snoods to that we're going to tie. I'm killing time. Appreciate you guys killing time with me. I couldn't sleep, so here I am. So we create one triple surgeon's loop. We're going to come down, so we need to leave enough room that when the leader hangs off of this one, that we've got, it's not interfering with the second leader. So we'll go ahead and do another triple surgeon's loop here. 2, 3. And we can just kind of slide the knot down a little bit to make it a little smaller. And pull her tight. Then on the bottom of this, we'll go ahead and sit. Okay. So we're using 40-pound here. These are going to be for my 20-pound rods, or 20-pound. The reels have 20-pound mono on them. There. I knew I could use words. Is my 14-pound over here? No. Okay. So I built the main part of it with 40-pound mono, but I want to add in some 20-pound mono. Yep, Fat Cat, I'm back. Couldn't sleep. So figured I'd spend time with all my bestest buddies. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is I'm going to switch from 40-pound down to 20-pound for the piece that goes to the sinker, because the goal is that if my sinker gets stuck, I want to be able to break free and break the sinker off and get the rest of the rig back. So to accomplish this goal, there's the top of the rig. I'm going to go down to the bottom here. I'm going to go ahead and tie on another swivel. And I used the trilene knot at the top end of it. The bottom end, I'm just going to use the clinch knot. The reason is the clinch knot is a significantly weaker knot than the trilene knot. So I've got my clinch knot there, and I'll go ahead and put another clinch knot here. And that's going to build in that weak point that I want. Because like I say, my main line is going to be 20 pound, and I have 20 pound on this, but I want this to break a little below 20 pound. And pretend that we are a urologist doing a vasectomy and do a snip snip. There we go. Yeah, the jokes are free and overpriced at free. So down here at the bottom, again, I don't care about the strength, so I can just do a regular surgeon's loop, which is 2 twists. And that is for my sinker. And for those who don't normally do it this way, take your sinker, you run it through, or the loop, you run it through the eye of the sinker, back around, poop, cow hitch knot. And then you can take this off and you can change different weights of sinkers if you so desire. So there's our rig. Let me snip off this last tag end from the sinker side. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these hooks, and I can't tell you what size they are because they're in the bag. And again, I'm going to use 40 pound on this. And I waste a lot of mono. You'll figure that out. And for these, I'm just going to do the no-knot snell, because with 40 pound mono, the no-knot snell doesn't try to unravel itself like it does with heavier line. Just give her a good tug. You will leave a longer tag end if you're using the no-knot snell, because it can loosen, if you push in on it, it'll loosen up some. Farron, you're back. How are you? And then here we just want to double this over. So we got a loop. Wrap it around itself, and then we're going to do another triple surgeon's loop. Just running that through there 3 times. And again, this loop can be as small as you can make it. There we go. Give another tug on the tag end before we cut it. Ouch! Apparently it goes in your finger like that. No blood. And there we go. So this is going to top the rig. Take the top loop and the loop that's on the snood. We put the snood loop over the leader loop, and then we run the hook through that leader loop and get clear of all these knots, and that gives us what looks like a square knot right there. So it gives you all the benefits here. You get the single leader coming off. You've got a no-knot snell that's hanging out there doing its business. Like I say, this no-knot snell is ridiculously strong of a knot. And I don't tell you that because I just want to feed you crap. I tell you that because I tested it with the puller you've all seen. So that gives us the top one. So when it sits, it's going to sit like so. And notice that it doesn't come down to that second loop. So we're not going to have this hook interfering down here with that second leader, second snood. And pull off another piece. And there we go. I'm going to go ahead and tilt down a little bit here. So hopefully you guys can see a little more of what's going on. And one thing that I've always been told, with no-knot snell, you need both ends of the line ring. You don't. You actually only need the standing end, the end that goes up to the swivel or whatever. So if you didn't have access to this end, you could just slide this up from the back, and then this becomes your tag end. And then you just do your no-knot snell, run around 8 times or so, and run that through yonder. So it's just like before, except that you could have this tied off to something else. And then we'll create our triple surgeon's loop here. This one's going to be a little short, but whatever. Appreciate everybody coming in. Appreciate the thumbs up and all that fun stuff. I know it's the middle of a Friday night, at least here in the US. and most people are asleep. So this one, snip off tag end. And really, you know, this is a very short snood. If I can get it off of this when I get done. There we go. But you're just trying to get off of the main portion of the leader a little bit. So again, you put the snood loop over the leader loop, like so, and run the hook through the leader loop. And you could do it the exact opposite and use the snood over, or the leader loop over the snood, and then run the hook through the snood. There we go. And there we are. So this is the entire rig, top to bottom. You start with swivel at the top, snood number 1, snood number 2, swivel, and then your little noose for the sinker. So what I do with these, let me write on the baggie before I put it in there. So 40 pound. Call it a 2-drop. And those look like, I will call them 5/0 hooks. Ooh, and actually they're not offset. So the way I mark these, so these are 4 mil bags. Don't get the 2 mil bags. They're 3 inch by 5 inch. The 2 mil, the hooks are just going to go right through them. So 40 pound line, double dropper, 5/0 hooks. And that's an S right there for saltwater, which basically these are inline circle hooks. And in saltwater, if you're fishing for reef fish, you have to use a non-offset hook. So inline, just like this is, I tend to grab 2 hook points together, or 2 hooks together, and then just kind of wrap this around. And then we just drop everything in the baggie. See her up. She's ready to go. I'll put these in like a bigger Ziploc bag, multiples of the same type. And that way I've got them. I can open up that bag, grab one of these out, and I'm ready to go. You're like, wasn't that going to get tangled? A little bit. Show you. So I just grab part of it, and so it comes out like so. And I mean, this is easy to untangle. If you put a bunch of these rigs together in one bag, they don't untangle easily. So that's it, right? No muss, no fuss. And I'm sure, well, I don't know if you have. I have had to take a big bunch of rigs and just start cutting. It's kind of like having a bird's nest on a bait caster with hooks and swivels and crap everywhere. So you shove all the bits down in there, and there you go. Earlier tonight, in a different live stream, I was testing these Coast Lock snaps. I didn't know how much strength they'd have. They have a lot. They went well over 60 pounds. So if you want to, on your main line, you can just put one of these Coast Lock snaps and then attach the rig we just made, slap it on there, put it in. And that way you can change the rig as you want. And more importantly, possibly for some people, you can take the rig off. So when you're traveling with your rod, you don't have 2 hooks dangling around. Up to you. Just another thought. Now you'll notice that when I create my rigs, I don't have a lot of jewelry on them, like rattles and floats and every bead under the sun. You can add those. If you like those things, add them. Go for it. I am not convinced that it's going to do anything helpful. I do know it adds to the cost. And I'm not telling you, you know, that it's wrong to have that stuff. I'm not telling you that it hurts your fishing. I'm not going to tell you to help it. I don't know. Different strokes for different folks. Um, I will tell you that, just like most bass fishing tackle, it's made to catch the fisherman, not necessarily fish. But that's how you sell stuff, right? You create a need, for decades upon centuries. No one needed a demon dragon, which is just basically a Zara spook that got painted. Got fishermen like to put them near the hook, so it works as a Santee rig, so the float's there and it's got rattles in it, and it's painted to look however you want it to look. The problem with that is, and I've seen this in underwater footage from saltwater with pompano rigs where they, have colorful floats on them. The fish will attack the floats. If the fish attacks your demon dragon, it doesn't do you any good. I mean, hopefully it'll find your bait sooner or later, but yeah. So there you go. Let's see. Let's go ahead and start up here somewhere and create another couple surges loop. So I'm just doing, again, what I just did. I'm just creating a stash of rigs because it's fun. Well, maybe fun's not the right word. It's a necessity. Because if you don't do this at home, you have to do it on the water. And the time that you're spending fishing, you want to be out there. I know it's going to come as a shock, fishing, not tying rigs. And another thing I will bring up on this, you can see this, I'm not super fast at tying rigs, and that's okay. I did not understand people who would, pay $5 for a pompano rig in Florida when they could make their own for under $1. Well, the reason is time is money, right? And in order to do what I'm doing right here, I've got 2 different size monos, big spool, several different size swivels, several different size hooks. So if you're not interested in amassing all of that, and you kind of have to buy a lot of these, to me, you need to buy them in bulk to make it worthwhile because it brings the cost per piece down. But then you also have people who, have dexterity issues due to age or physical limitations. So it can be, certainly these pre-tied rigs are not a bad thing. I tell you that. I'm also thinking, I try not to do it very often. I'm thinking about possibly coming out with a line of rigs. Not because I enjoy tying them that much, but because one of my fiance's sons is looking for a job, and that would give him a job. So, and there are, a ton of rigs on the market. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you mine's better than anybody else's. It's probably a little short, but I don't care. It can be a time saver. Because when you're on the water, you're there to fish. You want to be fishing. You want to, this way you tie 1 knot or 0 if you use those coast lock snaps, and you just get it ready to go, and you're fishing it. Break off a rig, put another one on real quick, tie a knot, as opposed to tying Let's see. Pull this tight here real quick. These little rig pullers I got off of Amazon. Ooh, I need to put them in my Amazon store. Anyway, I have an Amazon storefront. It's linked in the description. If you buy something after clicking that link from Amazon within, I think, 24 hours, even if it's not in my store, it gives me a small commission. The price you pay doesn't change. It comes off of their end, not yours. So if you would like to do that, it'll help me out, helps channel out. I mean, I am the channel, so there you go. I'd appreciate it. If you don't, that's fine too. I also am a big fan of the PC Fun Reels. Done several teardowns and reviews and stuff on them. I am not sponsored by them in any way. However, I do have a affiliate link kind of thing. If you've never gone to their website and put in your email address, you can use the link in the description and it will give you a $25 coupon off of $70. You get a $25 off coupon. I get a $25 off coupon. And it's only good for one time. And if you're already a customer of theirs, then of course they're not going to help either one of us out by doing that. So anyway. And if you've not heard of PC Fun is, I say similar to Kasking. They're really in that you can't buy them in stores. They're direct only, or through Amazon and stuff like that. But you can go to their website, you can go to Amazon, and I will tell you that PC Fun, often the price is cheaper on Amazon. Or even if it's not cheaper, I like Amazon's return policy better. But that's just me. So, and then, yeah. I know everybody gets hit with, click my link down in the description all the time. And it's, yeah. But if you find that I'm providing a useful service and you want to help support, then that's a way that you help support without it costing you a penny, which is free is the best way, right? I still have 2 people in here. That's 2 more than I expected. Because really all I'm doing is tying regs. I realize it's boring. I realize I'm boring. So again, down at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and just tie a clinch knot. Clinch knot is not a strong knot, but I am trying to give myself the ability to lose the sinker and not the entire rig. The improved clinch knot is better than the clinch knot, stronger. It's not as strong as a trailing knot, but that's fodder for another day. I can't think of a reason to use the clinch knot unless you're wanting less strength. And in this particular case, I am. Let's see here. I had to check out which end was which because I don't want to. I've got a swivel on each end. There we go. And if you have not subscribed to my channel and you wonder why you should, well, give you a little bit of insight. I fish in the Memphis, Tennessee area, typically for catfish, bluegill, crappie, skipjack, Asian carp. skipjack and Asian carper bait, but still something to catch. I go down to Pensacola, Florida, a few times a year, fish down there in saltwater. Actually, that's where I get most of my views from. People really like saltwater fishing. I also post deals. If I find a good deal on a fishing product or even fishing adjacent, like if I've done tripods because I know that, a lot of us like to video our fishing. And then, of course, a lot of us are content creators. But I'm not going to, I rarely post a deal. It's got to be a good one. It's got to be either a product I've used or one that I'm willing to order myself. There's a lot of people out there that just want to post deal after deal, $5 off of $100 or something, which is not what I'm doing. It's got to be a really, really good deal. It's got to save you a lot of money. So some of my past deals were like the Pflueger President reel, the previous model, for $20-$30, which is half price. That kind of stuff. Yeah. So if you'd like to subscribe, I'd love to have you. I put up videos somewhat often. It's hot out there right now, so I have not been doing a lot of fishing. I was going to go tonight, or last night, I guess would be a better way of putting it. But I had a toothache that was driving me absolute bonkers. Finally got some pain meds in that shut it down. I don't know what's going on. I need to go see a dentist to find out. I don't know if it's just from grinding my teeth at night or if it's wisdom teeth pushing things around or what. It's been bothering me for a little while. Last time I was at the dentist, and was like, there's nothing wrong there. No cavities, nothing like that. And I'm like, well, tell that to the pain that keeps coming, but it was a dull pain up until earlier tonight. It was really bad. I'm considering going out in the morning in the kayak, but I'm a little scared too, and not because I'm scared of the kayak, but because I'm scared I don't know where everything is for it. I don't keep the seat on it, don't keep the battery in it. I'm just afraid I'll get to the lake and be going, oh yeah, I needed that. I don't have it. So I did make a camera rig for it tonight, or last night. And I'm going to do the same thing for my boat. Making it out of PVC. And I'll do a video on that when I make the one for the boat. And kind of show the one for the kayak. Because I've had my phone go in the water once already. Because I was using a selfie stick that had a 1/4-inch thread at the bottom, so I mounted it on the selfie stick. And then the glue didn't hold where the plug in the bottom was, and over she went. Thank goodness it had a USB cable in it at the time, so I was able to fish it out before it went deep down in the water. I wasn't even paying attention to what I was doing there. I was tying the wrong knot because I want this bottom one to be weak. So just using a clinch knot. And earlier today, I did a video on Rivercat tackle hooks. When I was at the gathering in East Tennessee back in May, John gave me a pack of the 6/0 hooks to play with. He didn't give them to me to do what I'm doing with them. He gave them to me to fish with. But I put them on my strength tester and I tested to see how strong they were. You know, what it would take to bend them and all that kind of stuff. And I was pleasantly surprised and impressed with how strong those German steel alloy hooks are. So if there's any topics you guys want to talk about, just let me know and we'll talk about them as long as it's not race, religion, or politics. I can give all sorts of relationship advice. And I say that because if you've seen my fiance, ooh, doggy, she's cute. 4 years ago, I would have no business giving anybody advice on love. But I kind of went through a personal transformation. And because for the longest, I mean, first 50 years of my life, I was mortified of being rejected. And I don't know exactly how, but I got to where I just would talk to women. And, you know, if they weren't interested, it was okay, cool, thanks. Have a wonderful day, you know. It wasn't like it was a personal insult. Because I always felt like a personal insult before that, you know. It's like, well, I want people to like me, yeah, whatever. And the way I met Ashley, actually. Hey, Dan, I did not get your email address. I was going to grab it after ended the live stream and you retracted it. If you email me, my email is fishingthemidsouthchannel@gmail.com. And that way I can hit you back on email. And then you don't have to post yours. So, and I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I will flat out tell you that these, and I'm not sponsored, by the way, by Rivercat Tackle or anyone. The hooks are not cheap. They are not. And back in my bass fishing days, you know, I would fish with the Academy hooks until it was time for a tournament. Then I went and grabbed the Gamakatsus. So I understand being frugal with hooks. Absolutely. And I'm not telling you that these are the greatest hooks in the world. I give information. I don't tell you what to believe or not believe or anything like that. I was impressed. Yeah, I just didn't have a chance to screenshot it. Yeah, I mean, I was going to, like I say, screenshot it right after it ended. I was like, oh, he retracted it. Dang it. So, see, I've never used Team Catfish hooks. Never really run across them, and I think those are now being sold in maybe Walmart or Bass Pro or somewhere in it. Anyway, they've got better distribution than they when they first started, where we know it was just through their website, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And Team Catfish is the one with the double action, blah 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 blah, whatever, right? Because I remember a lot of people talking about those a few years back. And you know as well as I do, you know that you get pro staffers, influencers, whatever you want to call them, that you give them free product or pay them some money or whatever, and you know they push your product. And that's not what I'm doing here. I mean, he gave me literally a pack of hooks, pack of 5 hooks, which was a very nice gesture. Please don't misunderstand me, but I'm cheap, but ain't that cheap. He did see my video. I actually talked to him about the video because I wanted to make sure that I had my information correct, or get more information, I guess would be a good way. And we talked for a bit about the hooks and stuff. And he liked the video. He, you know, it's not something that other people have been doing with, you know, he thought it added value. And he's like, well, you know, I knew they were strong. And anyway. Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody makes their own anything anymore. But he said he would send me some other sizes to test because he saw value in what I was doing. Like one of the things that I thought was interesting, that John told me, is they come prepackaged to him. You know, I assumed that, you know, they came in a big giant bulk box and, you know, he and his wife or whoever would go through, you know, count out 5, put them in a pack and, you know, all that kind of stuff. He said, nope, they come from the factory that way. And he said it was what the factory encouraged him to do, because you get the 5 in that thick plastic bag, or plastic, yeah, baggy. They're not all, you know, rattling around like these are and rubbing against each other and dulling each other and everything like that. And it made sense. They are sharp. Oh my God, they're sharp. But anyway, and you know, Dan, I have the same issue that you're talking about right now, especially with a lot of these real companies. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. The PC Fun Chaos XS is effectively a knockoff, in my opinion, of the Abu Garcia Ambassador reels. Now, you know, it has more ball bearings and a little this, but you know, if you took the nameplates off everything, just from the outside, it'd be hard to tell what they were, right? And I see that a lot with other brands as well. Everybody's trying to effectively, in my opinion, copy Abu Garcia because it's the quintessential round baitcaster. But and then they're charging almost as much as Abu does, and I'm like, well, now hang on. Why would I get your knockoff for almost the same price? And you know, I would rather go with a brand that I know than a brand I don't know. And I think you and I have, disdain may not be the right word, but the the pro staffers that will push any product just for the sake of getting freebies. My name means a lot to me. I don't have a lot in life that does mean a lot to me, but my reputation is important to me. And I won't sell. I mean, I will for the right price, but it's gonna be a good price. And I can't live with myself if I am not treating people the way I would want to. Well, that may not sound right either. I don't want to tell people to buy products that I wouldn't buy myself with my own money. And let me tell you, there's some premium stuff out there that I'd like to have, but I ain't going to pay for it. A good example, Van Staal saltwater reels. They're cute. They're nice. I'm not paying $800 for a freaking reel. So if they offered me and said, "Hey, Mike, would you like a Van Staal reel?" I would love one. Oh, 5 of them? I'd take a ton. Thank you very much. Will I tell other people to buy them? No. I'll tell them what's good about them, what's bad about them. But I am not going to tell you to spend your money on something I won't spend my money on. And yeah. Well, now, original ideas are few and far between these days. A lot of almost everything I can think of is a derivative work of something else. Like there are a bunch of people that make rod holders for boats, and rod holders for banks, for the bank. And they're all similar in one way, in certain ways. That's not to say that, there was no innovation there. But, maybe you make yours thicker, maybe you change the bends a little bit, maybe you change the angle or something, but overall it's kind of derivative work. Just like the rigs that I'm tying tonight are derivatives of other people that have come before me. So I'm not making any earth shattering. I think I'm improving, right? What am I doing up? Well, NJ Fishing Maniac, what I am doing up, sir, is I'm waiting for this guy from New Jersey that goes live every effing day of his life to get finished delivering bread so he can go live fishing. Because, there you go. And when I say derivative work, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just, I remember the old BASF commercials. We don't make the things you like, we make the things you like better. He is a nut. Sometimes he goes saltwater fishing. Sometimes he doesn't. He likes to hang out on a bridge with some dude named Jig and Joe. I think they're both homeless. He wears these shirts that are like sleeves are cut off, and they're cut off way down here so you can see side boob. Yeah. And NJ, I don't know if you ever saw the troll that I think is my favorite troll of a long time. One of the best ones I've seen. And it was against you in one of your live streams. And it was somebody we know. I just don't remember who it was. We're like, "Hey, NJ, did they forget to give you the muscles with the muscle shirt?" Or something like that. And I just thought it was great. I'm not picking on you. I was like, see, that's the kind of trolls I like. Please don't ask me if I want a Lamar Jackson edit. I don't. Nobody does. Nobody anywhere gives a shit about Lamar Jackson or your damned edits. You know, talk about derivative work. It's like, here, let me steal your video and then steal some of Lamar Jackson standing around playing ball, whatever it is he does, and put it together and claim it as my own work. Everyone wants to pay a manufacturer to put their name on a rod or reel or hook and moves their anchor point on a planer board. Drifting weight different radios. Okay, so Dan, I probably shouldn't say this out loud because, one day I'll actually want to make this and think I could make billions of dollars off of it. But I really don't want to put in the work required to do all that. So, one of my sort of original ideas is a new weight. And what that weight is going to be. So, we've got the hollow gauze for you put on your fingers. Well, that's not going to work because it's not woven tight enough. But some kind of cotton bag, cotton fabric with cotton thread. So it's all biodegradable and natural, as much as it can be. And it's basically a bag. And you can put rocks in it, you can put sand in it, whatever you want to do. And that is your weight. Because if there's a little white bag of rocks a foot from your bait, do the fish care? No. But the reason being is the environmental impact, keeping lead out of the water. That's the sole purpose of it, is just to create a better weight. Rocks, sand, all that's all natural. If you break that off in the water, it's hard for anybody to care unless you're doing boulders and stuff. Whereas, if you leave behind lead sinkers, it's not always a good thing. It's not a good thing. Well, okay, so at the risk of besmirching people I like, Uncle Lou rods. Okay, and I've said this a number of times. Uncle Lou's heard me say it. When he first came out with the orange rods, and everybody's like, "Oh, look how pretty the orange rods are." I was like, "Them's ugly. That's bright ass ugly orange." And it wasn't until I started seeing them on live streams and see them, under black lights, and I'm like, "Oh, that is cool." If you're gonna, if you're a YouTuber, man, that is cool. And I've got some of his rods. I love those rods. And I don't know of anybody before him that, not to say that there weren't, I just can't think of anybody that had that same combination of the stainless steel guides, the really strong stainless steel guides, the aluminum reel seat. Whether that's overkill or not, I'm not even going to discuss right now. The bright orange rod, the S-Glass blank, and the price. I thought that he brought something to market that was, there was nothing. He didn't create new guides. He didn't create an aluminum reel seat. He didn't create the EVA foam. He didn't create the blank. But what he did was he got it all put together and sent over and sold them to us. And I am glad he did. Since then, there have been a lot of copies of it. Well, it's good to make a difference. One of the things that I would love to do, I just don't want to put the money into it. I don't have the money to put into it, but anyway, and I don't want to take the risk. But you know how bait casters, especially for the bass guys, they're like, well, you cast it sideways, and that way the spool's, vertical instead of horizontal, and it gives you better whatever. Okay, well, if you're going to do that, or even if you're not, it wouldn't take a lot. You'd have to put one more gear in here because you want the gears going the same way. Because as you turn the handle on this, it rolls backwards. So I would have it rolling forward and basically reverse the anti-reverse clutch. So when you've cast it out and you're done and you start retrieving, you roll the whole rod over and you'd still reel forward. And the reason that it needs to reel forward instead of reverse is so that you feed it to the right spot on the spool, or you can move the level line mechanism. Anyway, I think that'd be a really good idea. It gives you all of the benefits of the spinning setup, where you don't have to worry about, as the rod bends, the eye's not being in the right place and the line coming in contact with the rod because it's on the bottom. Yeah, see. But again, that's an improvement in my mind, not something new. There's not a lot of new out there. And God knows when somebody does make something new. For instance, Yeti was the first company I can think of that made a cup similar to this. Everybody and their mother makes them now. It doesn't pay to be innovative because somebody else is going to come along and beat you at your own game. Crocs is the one thing I can think of that has not just been pushed out of their own market. I remember, because I do technology for a living, BlackBerry, the original BlackBerry handheld devices that you could get your work email on and stuff. They owned that market. They created that market. They had patent issues because somebody had patented the idea, but had never done anything with it. And of course, they didn't realize there was patent. But anyway, then Apple came out with the iPhone and Research in Motion, BlackBerry, because Apple came out and beat them at their own game. They added a lot of features. They did, but in the end, the market that Research in Motion created left them behind. And it sucks because you put in all that R&D money and you've got to be able to make a profit for a good, you have to be in business for a long time to make a profit. Otherwise you go when somebody else comes and copies your idea. So that's how I feel about things. And since I'm always right, there's that. Well, and I tried to stay away from that. I mean, I recently got an Amazon affiliate store or whatever. I mean, I forget. I don't remember exactly what they call it, but yeah. So, I'll ask people to use that if they can. But yeah, I mean, you can always tell who's pro staff and who's not, or who wants to be pro staff and who's not. And it gets frustrating because I watch a lot of channels. And there's one guy down in the Pensacola area that I really like, but boy, you're going to hear about the green get 'em beads and the gotcha plugs and the Ninja Dagger rods and the because sometimes people want to know that. I mean, I've been in NJ Fishing Maniacs lives, and every live somebody's like, "Hey, what kind of rods are those?" I'm like, "Well, they're Mad Cat. They're Mad Cats. Orange Crush." and I understand that people want to know these things sometimes, but when you start off your video with, well, now today I'm using Billy Joe Bob's rod with Cindy Lou's reel. I'm using this brand of line and this brand of hook and this brand of swivel and this brand of sinker, and I'm wearing this brand of sunscreen and this brand of clothing. And yeah, buddy, yeah. And I get frustrated at the constant nothing but ads, just like you do. And what bothers me about them is that there are people out there that will get misled, and I don't like seeing that happen because you know I have my opinion on what are inferior products that people still push regularly because they get them for free, and I hate it. Um, when especially when I see somebody who's big in the game, or at least big on as far as YouTube goes, and they're yeah. I mean, there's some people I'm jealous of their success. I'll give you that. Absolutely. I am jealous of the success of Dieter Melhorn and Catfish Dave, even if I'd love to pick on Catfish Dave as much as I can. I mean, he's made a name for himself. And whether he's your cup of tea or not, people like him. Some people like him. But when I did watch him years back, he would talk about products, but he wasn't really pushing any product. It was like, I like this Daiwa reel because, I like this feature about it, that feature about it. And I don't think Daiwa gave them to him. I think he was genuinely, genuinely telling people about products he used and liked. Just like, I talk about Suffolk Superior Mono. It's made by Rapala, any of those guys. And I liked it before I found out that it was made by them. I was actually surprised to find out it was made by them. I buy it because it's, the 1 pound spools of the 40 pound are about, 32, 33 bucks on Amazon. And it's good quality line for what I need. It's not overpriced. Yeah, there's some out there that are nothing more than. There's one show I'm thinking of every week that you won't catch me dead in. Used to be a fun show, but now it's nothing but advertising from start to finish. And, yeah. I think sometimes we lose our way. And I think part of it is we want to be, I won't say famous. Some people do want to be famous. I just want to be successful on YouTube. I would love to, be able to do this full time. Although then it would be a job and I would hate it. So there's that. I'm just not willing to sell my soul to get there. I'm not willing to step on other people to try to get ahead. I'm kind of envious of the people up in the Washington D.C. area. I've never been a subscriber to what's his name, Ernie the Hog Snatcher. I ran across one of his videos the other day, or his channel or something, and I'm like, my goodness, this guy's got a butt ton of subscribers. I had no idea he had blown up the way he had. And you've got, um, Has Life. He's been doing for himself out there. Chunky, of course, went to TikTok and has been killing it over there. DMB Whisker King. Every now and then he pops back up, but it's like there's something about that area that just makes stars. Homesteaders are interesting. Homesteaders and preppers. Um, I'll tell you the scourge that I hate right now. Well, the people doing Lamar Jackson edits, but that's a different issue. The auditors, the First Amendment auditors, Second Amendment auditors. Okay, first off, being an auditor is actually a job. And calling yourself that because you try to make people uncomfortable to get bad reactions so that you can film it and hopefully sue the police for mistreating you. There's they will go to post offices with cameras and just they're trying to get the police called on them so they can educate the police so that you can't kick me off public property if I'm not stopping interfering with somewhere or blah 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 blah, and I have the First Amendment right, and I'm the press. You're not the press, you jackass. You're a jackass with a camera. You're there trying to get arrested so you can sue the police department. That's all the hell you're doing. See, but you can be a fishing channel. I'm a fishing channel. Not a catching channel, just a fishing channel. And there are people out there that are really, really good on their waters. And I say that not tongue in cheek. I grew up on a farm, and I mean, I knew some good places to fish, and I could catch the snot out of some fish. I mean, for a kid. But the river system, I am not used to that. I truly am. Every time I go on the Mississippi River or even the Tennessee River, I am dumbfounded. There's so much water. And trying to figure out where the fish are going to be. And, I used to think that guides were significant. I mean, just crazy overpriced. Wait, you want me to pay you $400 back then for half a day or sometimes a day of fishing on your boat? You want me to make your boat payment for the month for one day of fishing? That seems ridiculous. Well, it is till you buy a boat. And you're like, okay, so, especially if you're one of those people that bought it on payments, you're like, $300 a month in payment. Then there's the gas, then there's the this, then there's the that, then there's the equipment, then there's the everything else. And you use it 2 times a month, 6 months out of the year. It'd be cheaper to go with a guide. And these guides, not that guides don't have off days, but you're paying them to put you on fish. And if they don't put you on fish, they will not be guides for a very long time. I always thought that what I should do is open up a boat shuttle service. Look, I'll meet you at the ramp this time. We'll get on my boat. We will go out. I will take you where you want to go. You got to find your own damn fish and bring your own crap. And it's not until you sit here and you tie these rigs, and I'm lollygagging as I do it. But, you know, all of the work that goes into getting out there to fish, you don't think about it. You don't think about, they got to the maintenance on the boat. They got to clean the boat. They got to keep it clean, and they got to, do maintenance. They got to have it somewhere. They got to drag it somewhere. They got to, it's easy to go broke as a guide, I think. The surf fishing guides in Pensacola blow my mind. There are some of them that charge $400 or $500 for 4 hours. Beach fishing guide. They provide the bait. You bring your own drinks. They provide the tackle. And they provide the expertise. There's no boat involved. They go out on the beach with you, and they possibly educate you, possibly put you on some fish, but their cost is not anything like a boat guide. And it blows my mind that people pay that kind of money. Now, the first time I went out, I did get a surf guide. One, because it would be for me and Ashley. I didn't know what I was doing. And this guy was like $1.25, 125 for 4 hours. I was like, you know what? That is very fair. I mean, he made less an hour than I do at my day job, and he's got to provide, equipment, and can tell me things, and he can identify fish that, I don't know anything about saltwater fish. I would catch something and go, yep, that's a fish. I have no idea what it is, but it's a fish. So, and his price has gone up since then, but it blows my mind, the people that, $400 or $500 for 4 hours of, yeah. Especially when you can get on a party boat, charter, or whatever, for like $200 and go places you can't go by yourself without a boat anyway. I do want to try one of those out next time I'm down there. I realize it's going to be armed out, shoulder to shoulder, and with people that probably don't, with people that may actually know less about fishing than me. But I think it's an opportunity to catch fish that I normally wouldn't be able to get to. So I'll take it. I'll watch a lot of different people on YouTube, Jody and James and Skipjack, Cindy and Travis, and NJ Fishing Maniac, and any fin as possible. Those guys are fishing waters that they know. They'll try new spots, don't get me wrong, but they know the area, they know the fish, they know the this, they know the that, and so they're able to find fish some of the time, not all the time. I mean, I've seen a lot of skunks out of all of those folks, and the thing is to be entertaining while you're getting skunked. I'll go back to chunky cats. Um, if he caught a fish, that was just gravy. It was the show. It was, he was interacting with his chat. He knew how to work the chat. He had, you know, he was just a good, fun person to watch. And, when he caught fish, then even better. But he could have skunked every night, and I don't think it would have hurt his viewership, because you were there for his personality, the interaction, the people in chat that kept everything going as well. Everything fed off of itself. And the fact that he was able to take that over to TikTok and monetize it, more power to him. I don't begrudge him at all, except for the fact that I don't get to watch him anymore, because I don't like TikTok. I don't like the format. Oddly enough, one of my big complaints about TikTok is the vertical format, which YouTube has pretty much forced us all to do if we want to get viewers outside of our normal subscribers. I hate it with a passion. I tried watching Chunky over there, and there's all the silly little stupid gifs like the cowboy hats and stuff. They take up room on the screen, and you can't see what's going on, and it was frustrating to me. So he lost me when he moved over. Again, not a big loss for him by any stretch. He found a different audience and a bigger audience over there, and I would love to know how much he makes, but it's none of my business. I'm hoping that he is making bank. And then I look at people like Luke Nichols with Catfish and Carp, who he was also doing the Outdoor Boys channel, and the 300,000 or 400,000 views that he would get per video on Catfish and Carp was nothing compared to what he was getting on the Outdoor Boys channel. So he kind of abandoned the Catfish and Carp channel. Yes, but when Chunky was was on YouTube, I liked him. I like that. I liked him. May not have been your cup of tea. But he abandoned the Catfish and Carp channel to focus time on the Outdoor Boys channel. And then recently he announced that he's done with that because he's become too much of a celebrity. He can't go out in public without, people wanting to autographs and talk to him and all that. And I understand, like in Memphis, Jerry Lawler is kind of a big deal here. And I was out with my ex-girlfriend, and the place we were at, he was there, And I saw a couple of pictures. People take pictures with him, and she wanted to take a picture with him. I'm like, just leave the man alone. You know, he just wants to get out and do his thing. You know, be a human being, and you know, just because you saw him on TV doesn't mean he owes you anything. But anyway, yeah. And now the thing is, I remember when Luke was small enough that he came to CatCon. And I mean, his adventures, there are a lot of his adventures I wouldn't want to be on. Hey, I'm out in, negative 30 degrees with no tent. You know, that is not fun to me. But, maybe it was fun to him. I don't know. But Outdoor Tom, which from what I understand, YouTube has just has or is about to. Oh, it's taking away live streams from anybody that's under 16, so that doesn't really affect him. Sorry. I think he is letting Tommy kind of take the reins. And I mean, I believe it was during the CatCon that during COVID that was virtual only. I believe Luke was on that one. Well, because I believe that's where he said this. He basically said that he was making 10 times as much on YouTube at that point as before Outdoor Boys was, I hadn't ever heard of him, than he was making as an attorney. So, even if he was not the greatest attorney out there and was just doing, and I think he was doing like DWI stuff, I mean, he still had to be clearing, he still had to have a salary of at least $150,000 a year, right? So that would equate to $1.5 million a year from YouTube. We'll even go conservative and just say only $1 million a year off of YouTube. So I figure old Luke, God bless his heart, is set. And Luke was always both an inspiration and a head scratcher to me, because there was nothing spectacular about him. He was not, he had the dad bod. He was kind of goofy a little bit, had a little dorkiness going on. Was not the best looking dude in the world. He was just a dude. Green Thumb, thank you for coming in here and letting me know what a fucking piece of shit you are. Go to hell and kill yourself, jackass. Ex-girlfriend, you can have her. I don't understand why trolls come in and say stupid shit. Your mother needs to take your phone away from you and ground you for the rest of your life until you get a job and move out. And that's never going to happen because you're an idiot. No one would ever hire you. God, I hate people like that. I mean, Luke. Oh, yeah. I mean, what I'm saying is, he left Virginia and what seemed like a nice house that was on a lake of some sort there. And he moved back home to Alaska. God bless his wonderful wife for going back to Alaska. I don't know if she's from there as well or not, but I mean, that's a hard sell. Hey, let's go live in Alaska. Nothing against Alaska. Just DC is nothing but a giant crowd of people. And Alaska is not. And another thing that was interesting about Luke, and why I'm even talking about him this much, um, is the fact that he's Mormon. And I don't know if that helped him, as in the church got behind him, or if it hurt him because, he's Mormon, which, the Mormons are not. So people have issues with me, although that's not his side of things at all, from what I could tell. Sorry, I'm digging through my hooks here, looking for some more hooks. Let's see, this is 7/0. Tackles. What are these? So there's 7/0. I'm gonna put big there. So yeah, I don't know if that helped him or hurt him. But interesting. It is very interesting. Well, you're right. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't push his religion, and thank God. That's one thing that drives me absolute nuts is people that push religion. I mean, I was raised in the church and all that kind of stuff, but it comes down to it, I don't want to hear it. If you have religion and you like your religion, congratulations, leave me the alone. And I can only imagine how much of a pain in the ass I was to other people back in the day when I was one of those people that couldn't shut up when I was in school about spreading the word. I try to stay away from religion. Try not to discuss religion ever. It's a polarizing topic, right? I even get fed up with people that come into chat and go, "Jesus loves you." Oh, okay. Is it okay if somebody else comes in and screams how Allah loves me, or I don't know, whatever other religion's deity is? Well, no, that's not okay. Well, then it's not okay if you do it. It just live and let live. Yeah. My mother's probably rolling in her grave right now hearing me say that. Well, God died something. I mean, she already did, so there's that. Politics is another thing, and I easily get sucked into politics because I have opinions. But I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear anything. I don't want to hear people, treating their political affiliation like it's a sports team. Go this, go that, or frankly, every politician can kiss my ass. And the downside is I'm actually considering running locally because I'm so pissed off at what the aldermen have done raising taxes here. But I don't want the job. I want to do it. I just think they're doing a sucky job and need to be pushed out. I don't want the hassle. I don't want to have to deal with people thinking they can call me 24/7 to complain about cracks in the driveways. And yeah. Yeah, I was. Luke's whole journey has been interesting to me because, it's the Outdoor Boys YouTube channel, but there towards the end, he was doing a lot of it by himself. And, at one point there was a lot that was, him and 2 or 3 of the kids. But then a lot of it became just him. And I think he made a mistake by leaving. He talked about how much time he put in to making videos and stuff. And I think that if he would have given creative control to someone else and, hired cameramen and hired a video editor, because the truth of the matter is editing videos is both not fun and not easy. You need a professional that knows their way through all the programs and have the creative eye and all that kind of stuff. Now, not to say that he doesn't. He put together good videos, but I think he did too much on his own and wouldn't bring in professionals. That's true. That is true. Yeah, politics is, yeah. What got me here was, so the way Tennessee works, we have our reappraisals every 4 years or whatever. But it's written into law that, if everybody's property tax goes up, we'll just say that their property value went up 10%. Well, then that would mean that property taxes went up 10% just right off the bat, because, it's written in Tennessee law that there can't be a windfall from a reappraisal year. So our local city's taxes by statute had to go down. And the aldermen just voted to raise them back to what it was. So they raised it back to the same dollar amount per thousand, therefore negating the windfall clause. And if the prices are going up for everybody at the grocery store or every store, just in case you're in a state that doesn't have a sales tax on groceries, the same percentage of sales tax still results in more money, because if you're paying $3 for something you used to pay $2 for, sales tax percentage stays the same, but the dollar value goes up. Paying for an outside cameraman, though, would have freed up time. So, Bill Dance used cameramen. He had to. That's the way it was done back then. And so it allowed him to focus on what he does best, which was, fishing and being the personality. And all of the filming and editing was done elsewhere. And that's where I think that, I think Luke burned himself out by doing everything himself. My example is movers. You know, there's a lot of things that I don't want to pay somebody else to do. I'll do it myself, even if I don't do it as well. Movers, do. Absolutely, they get it. I don't like what they charge. I don't want to pay it. But the end result is they're better at it than I am. They're going to break less stuff. They're going to scratch less stuff. They're better at it. And that's one of those things that I will go to my grave saying, that's something worth spending money on. And even if it wasn't the camera work itself, just the editing after the fact, that can be very time consuming. And the one thing that Luke did that was, you know, absolutely correct is every editor has their own spin or flow, or I don't know what the right word is, but they have their own feel. So he would have to find somebody that was willing and able to keep the feel the same, because, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just think that he, you know, he could go out for a weekend and do a video and somebody else edit it, and he would be done for that week. You know, he would spend the weekend doing what he does, making, you know, filming the video, doing the video, and somebody else do all the production work. Oh yeah, no, I understand that, you know, the time was different back then. And I mean, Bill Dance was paid to do a show, and I understand how Luke got burned out. I truly do. And, you know, if it was the privacy stuff, I understand where he's coming from, but it's also hard to have sympathy because, you know, it's the monster you created. And quitting YouTube is not going to change the fact that people know him. And, you know, Jerry Lawler retired from wrestling for a long time. And he did announcing and stuff. I don't know if he still does. I don't pay attention to wrestling anymore. But, you know, be that as it may, you know, years later, people are still bugging the crap out of him every time he goes anywhere. And I can see how that would get so old. It's like, you know, you watched my television show or my YouTube videos or whatever. I don't owe you anything. You got what you got. You know, I provided you entertainment. You don't get to shake my hand, hug me, and sit down to dinner with me. You know, it's not fair that a person would, you know, but then again, like I said, he created his own situation. And I cannot imagine that it suddenly started getting worse. I mean, you know, he would go to Japan and he would go, you know, cross country trips and stay with, you know, go on these charter trips and stuff. I have to believe that a lot of that was free. You know, we would love to, you know, have you, you know, to be on your show. We'd love to have you come stay with us and do a video here and whatever. You know, I have to believe that that was free, if not paid for, and, you know, money in addition. And I liked what he did. I liked seeing stuff like that. I liked it when he went down to Florida and was, you know, caught hardhead catfish and ate them, and did a catch, clean, and cook, and said that they weren't the worst thing he'd ever tasted. When if you go down to Florida, everybody down there thinks that hardheads are satanic and taste like absolute garbage. And it's probably because they don't understand you're supposed to fry fish. I don't know. They weren't that boring though, because you know it's no secret Bill Dance would fish private lakes and stocked, and you know he was not out finding fish in barren lands. Um, so and you had editors and all that kind of stuff. So he was always catching fish. Um, and I don't want to sound negative about the guy, but I don't know if he was really as great as the TV show portrayed him. Because if he were, I would think he would have been in tournaments and, beating everybody in the field. That's me. I just think that he had a personality that resonated, and he knew enough to market himself. For me, Roland Martin. He drove me nuts. I was not a fan of his mannerisms, personality, whatever you want to call it. Jimmy Houston was just funny as could be, and that made him interesting to me. I think Hank Parker was probably the best angler out of all of them. I could be wrong. Apparently, Roland Martin was actually a very good angler as well. Again, he was not someone that made me want to watch the show. Just as I'm sure I'm the same person that other people don't want to watch. I get it. I mean, I'm not. Not trying to make it sound like, I'm better than anyone. It's just that there's certain people I found more entertaining than others. But, I also have to give props to them, because if it weren't for the people who came before us, then we wouldn't have what we have now. They helped to create the market that we now serve. They created the desire, the niche, whatever you want to call it. And while we're talking about personalities and things that I miss or don't miss, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. I miss that. I always love that show. I mean, I don't think it has aged in a way that it would work in today's stuff, but I always thought they captured things really well. Oh wow, I've been alive for 2.5 hours. Jeez. All I'm doing is tying rigs, and I don't even. I need to go out and fish so I can lose some of these rigs so I can need to create more. It's just so damn hot out there. And there was a time when I wouldn't be complaining about the heat. That time's passed. Now I'm an old fair weather fisherman. It is frustrating that I have caught fish for the parts of my life that I've spent fishing, and I'm just not having the results around here that I think I should be having. I did better, I did fine when I was in Dallas. I mean, it wasn't, setting the world on fire, but Memphis is hard. And there's not a lot of water to fish. There's not a lot of safe water to fish. And the Mississippi River it's a beast. I mean, I've heard that all my life that, but when you get out there on it and you're sitting there in 6-mile-an-hour current nonstop, and yeah, it's just different. Just different. Let's see. And to drop. I love the system I've got with these little baggies. It works out real well. And you build up your rigs, put them. Oops, got a piece on this one. Organization is not my forte at all, and this helps keep me organized. If I lose, if I go through a number of rigs, I've got the baggies left. I know what I need to replace with. It's just kind of a nice system. And I feel like I've learned a lot about tying rigs. I've dispelled a lot of incorrect information that had been told, heard all these years. And I hope that I'm providing some kind of value to the community in that way. Anyway, get this one shoved down in the baggie. And that gives me plenty of that. That one loose? That one's loose. Good. And I can put them in these kind of things. And ooh, that's the wrong. I have one of these rigs over here. I didn't realize it was over here, which is much bigger than what I would be using for This is my like local park pond kind of rigs. So guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream. I want to thank everybody that came in and watched and gave me thumbs up and spent any time whatsoever with me. If I didn't put you to sleep, I'm sorry. I tried really hard. Anyway, I'm still pushing for those 4,000 watch hours. I am so close. I'm like over 3,850 right now. I just have hours from last year that are dropping off because this particular time last year I was putting out a decent amount of content, and so I'm losing those watch hours, and I'm really trying to get over that 4,000 hump so that YouTube will get me fully monetized and I can start making tens and tens of cents. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you guys next time.